Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. So today I would like to present my answer for the final assignment for supply chain management lecture assignment. So the topic will be resilient supply chain from shock to strategic strength with the case study of PT Krakatau Steel port risk assessment pack, and will be presented by myself, Anton Hartanto Hayat, as a student of University Logistics and Business International. So let's get going. So the first topic, or the first point that we would like to discuss here, is the strategic context. So there are 5 points that we are noted in this kind of case study. The first one will be the US Trump tariff 2.0 reshapes global steel flows, and then volatility in slab and billet price. The third one will be disruption in China supply. The fourth one will be the uncertainty in ASEAN export demand. And the fourth one will be margin pressure and cash flow constraint. Okay. And the second point that we will discuss here is the risk nodes, upstream, midstream, and downstream. So what is the upstream risk that we see here? So the upstream risk here that we see is the slab and billet imports process, and then iron ore and coal dependence. In the midstream process, we are seeing that operational utilization, and then the next one will be the aging assets. Okay. And then the downstream one, we will be having like export competition, and then domestic demand volatility. Okay. The third one, so there are 4 different risk classification that we identify here. The first one will be the geopolitical risk, and then supply disruption risk, and then we have price volatility, and the fourth one will be capacity or operational risk. Okay, so if we are talking about the risk heat map, so we are identifying these 4 risks here. There is a geopolitical, supply disruption, capacity risk, and price volatility. And then we have the likelihood and impact column here. So we are seeing like the scale is from 1 to 5. Yeah, so from 1 to 5, and that is for the likelihood. The severity or the impact will be also from 1 to 5. The for likelihood, 1 will be the very rare happen, until 5 is will be happen. Yeah, frequently happen. And also for the impact, it started from 1, that is the very low impact, and then the 5 will be the highest impact. Okay, so we are seeing that in the likelihood for geopolitical, we are giving the score 4, and the impact also 4. So the total score is multiplied between likelihood and impact is 16. And then we are also identifying like supply disruption is 4, and the impact is 5. And then capacity risk is the likelihood is 3, and then the impact is 3. And then price volatility is 4, and the impact is 3. So the total scores will be 16, 20, 9, and 12. And then how these numbers convert to the risk category, so we can see here in this table. So in this table mentioning that if the risk is between 1 and 2, it can consider as low, and then 4 and 5 is considered low to moderate, 6 to 10 is considered as moderate, 12 to 16 considered as moderate to high, 20 to 25 is high. Okay. And then from here we can identify that 16 may be considered as moderate to high, and then 20 is high, 9 is moderate, and 12 is moderate to high. So we can plot it in this table, right? So the blue color one is the low impact, low volatility as well. The green one will be the likelihood is quite high, and the impact is quite medium. And then we have this yellow is the high likelihood, but still a low impact, or medium or moderate impact. And then we move to the brown one, will be the low impact, high impact, and then goes to the high likelihood. And the high one for sure it will be high likelihood and high impact. Okay, so from this we can know that the based on the risk heat map, we need to able to identify what will be the action that we can take, yeah, from the to mitigate the risk. Okay, so if we are moving to the risk severity chart, So we can see here there is we have like a few different risks. There are operational shock, cash flow pressure, geopolitical risk, export uncertainty, supply disruption, and price volatility. And the highest the score, yeah, then it will be the severity is also quite high, yeah. So operational shock, the severity score is 4, cash flow is 6, geopolitical risk is 6, export uncertainty is 6, and then supply disruption is 8, price volatility is also 8. Sorry. Okay, so how we prioritize mitigation framework? Okay, so we after we identify all the risks, so this is the how we are mitigating the risk, right? So first is diversify slab and billet source, yeah, and then strategic inventory buffer, hedging for price volatility, and then strengthen ASEAN partnership, and then for sure the next one predictive maintenance programs, yeah. So by doing all this several mitigation framework, we try to minimize the impact to our operational. Okay, then the next one would be the risk governance model. Yeah, so what we propose here is the first one we will be having like board risk committee oversight. Yeah, and then the next one will be economic early warning dashboard, and then the third one will be monthly stress test, and then the fourth one will be the escalation protocol for major disruption. Okay, so on top of that, we still have like four reflective question. The first one, what is the difference between measuring and managing performance? Two, why do many organizations have KPIs but still underperform? The third one, how to avoid KPI overload? The fourth one, does everything need to be measured? Okay, the first one, what is the difference between measuring and managing performance? So basically, measuring performance is process collecting data and metrics to assess how well an activity, team, or an organization is performing. It focuses on what happening in a factual way, such as calculating key performance indicator or KPIs like revenue growth, customer satisfaction score, or employee turnover rates. It is descriptive in the nature and often used tools like dashboard or report. It proposed to provide visibility and benchmark, but without follow-up action. It's just a raw data. But what about managing performance? Managing performance means this involves using data from measurements to make decisions and improve. It focuses on how to improve what has been measured, such as setting targets, providing feedback, coaching, or adjusting strategy. It is a proactive and cyclical plan, do, check, and act, including rewards, punishment, training, and an alignment with business objective. Without management, measurement is useless. So these two is complement each other. Yeah. And the second question, why do many organizations have KPI but still underperform? So there are a few different kind of reasons. The first one, KPI is not aligned with strategy. KPI are often created in silos, separate department, not aligned with the overall vision. Yeah, so for example, sales is focused on sales volume but ignores profit margin, resulting in increased revenue but decrease in profit. Yeah, so usually between each department they have their own KPI, so there is like a conflict of interest between one department to the others. The second one will be lack of actionable insight. KPI are only measured but not analyzed in depth. The organization has data but no mechanism to translate it into action, such as root cause analysis or feedback loops. Yeah, and then the third one, overemphasis on lagging indicators. Many KPIs focus on end results like revenue rather than leading indicators like customer engagement that can be predicted and controlled earlier. Yeah, and then the fourth one, weak organizational culture. Employee resistant to KPI because they are seen as monitoring tools rather than improvement tools. Yeah, alternatively, leadership lacks commitment, so KPIs become a formality. Okay, the next one, external factors. Unanticipated market fluctuation, regulation, or competition makes KPI outdated. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic rendered travel industry, so the KPI will be irrelevant. Okay, the next one, how to avoid KPI overload. So there are a few steps that we can take. The first one will be prioritized by impact. Use the Pareto principle 80-20 rules. Okay, focus on 5 to 10 KPIs that most impact business objective. Ask what are the 3 metrics that if achieved will lead to business success. And then the next one we be use the SMART framework. Ensure each KPI is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. This filter out ambiguous or useless KPI. The third one will be regularly review and rationalize. Conduct a KPI audit every 6 to 12 months. Eliminate redundant or irrelevant ones and replace them with the new ones based on business change. The fourth one, integrate with technology. Use dashboard like Tableau or Power BI for visualization to avoid raw data overload. Automating data collection also reduce manual workload. And then the fifth one, this is the most important as well, will be involve stakeholders. Design KPI collaboratively with the team, not top-down. This ensure buy-in and avoids adding KPI because everyone wants their own metric. Okay. The next one, does everything needs to be measured? Then the answer will be no. Not everything needs to be measured. The principle was get measured, get managed. Yeah. So whatever that we measure, we need to manage that. But over measurement can be counterproductive as well. The reason is, first, focus on the essential. Measure only what aligns with strategy and is controllable. For example, measure customer retention if it is a business driver, but doesn't measure numbers of emails sent if it has no impact. And then cost versus benefit. Measurement requires resource, time, tools, and people. If cost more than benefit, then let's skip it. Yeah. In example, in a small startup, only measure revenue and user growth, not complex metric like defect rate in the early stage. And then risks of behavioral distortion. Excessive measurement can lead to gaming the system, employees manipulating data to meet target. Alternatively, qualitative aspects like creatively are difficult to measure accurately without bias. And then the last one will be when not to measure. Aspects like company culture, spontaneous innovation, or interpersonal relationship are often better managed through qualitative observation than rigid metrics. The bottom line is measure enough for actionable insight, but leave room for intuition and flexibility. Use the rule: if it cannot or won't be acted upon, don't measure it. Okay, so yeah, that's all I believe the presentation from my final assignment under supply chain management lecture. Thank you very much for your attention and support. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.